in strategic planning, so that you understand going forward that occupational programs and why is everyone on occupational programs, and why do we need to think differently. Also, thinking about well-being of our staff as one of the things that needs to be done. So, welcome at my strategic plan. I the 5 key benefits that we have in in strategic planning is it improves your decision making, it enhances the resource allocation, and it also increases the alignment of a college to industry. And then it is, if we look at it, we can make better risk management, and then also see opportunities where we can grow and innovate. Now, when we strategize because there's the end goal that we want to come through to. So in this presentation, I will focus on the strategic factors, the vision, the mission, and the context. The tactical ones, it is tactical means what is the priorities of a country and how do you get there, and then operationals, our outcomes. How do we look at our outcomes, um, and risk assessment? So fasten your seatbelts. We are going into the strategic factors. So the strategic factors that we have here, people, is our vision. Now, it is to be a leading provider of innovative and high quality vocational and skills development programs that meets the demand of the 21st century. And the only way we can do it is to expand our access through technical education. Offering diverse programs, people, so we need to change our qualification mix. Integrating sustainable ICT and becoming part of a physical infrastructure. Taking that infrastructure and then we bring in 4IR technologies in teaching and learning. And to give you an idea, people, we're talking about virtual learning. You put up a virtual goggles and you go into a workshop and you weld something physically there through 4IR. Policies that we develop to be responsive in our local context. We will look into local context a bit later, the necessary partnerships that we need there, and then also we must look at our resources, build our lecturers, lecturing and support staff, and then enhancing the capacity to improve our teaching and learning. And that we need to have values for people because we need to be accountable. We need to be teaching with integrity and always excellent, respect each other in our diverse cultures and be transparent what we want to accomplish. So I'm taking you now into what is the context of a college. Let's look at Africa. In Africa, the vocational education says we need to we need to transition from school to a workplace, and that will raise Africa's low industrial base, will lower the continent's high unemployment rate, and help with the current economic progress. And then also emphasizing practical application of skills. So how is it looking in South Africa? Facing the same challenges as the rest of Africa. There's a growing youth unemployment because they are not skilled to meet the demands of industry. The TVET curriculum do not address that. Colleges in South Africa must be the institutions of choice, playing an important role in the National Growth Plan. The social and political context in South Africa. People, let's look at the demographics. The communities we are coming from, there's a scarcity of water, there's no electricity, there's poverty, the education levels is low, the policies and legislation is changing rapidly. Tomorrow there's a new circular bringing in something new. So we're in a rapid changing culture. The belief that vocational is inferior to universities, and then the constant change of technology. So how is the educational landscape looking? We've got private and public institutions, and we've got CET colleges. So the challenges in all of us, people, is access. We cannot continue building. We need to look into hybrid learning. We're sitting with marginalized communities. Most of them is women that is suffering. The student finances, look at the unrest we're having. So there's a skills gap between education and what industry want from us. And therefore, we need to look into entrepreneurship skills, partnerships, so that we can create industry placement for our lecturers and our students, and also to look into green skills. People, we need to position ourselves through the program mix to be relevant to industry. If we go internationally, what is there that's internationally impacting on South Africa in a college here in Mokopane and in Leboa-Kgomo and in Thabazimbi? People, there's global challenges that is environmental, technology, and it impacts on our economies and society, people. Climate change, the population expansion. And Allah is saying we need to go and look. How do we train people for particular professions and occupations? And the cost shifting is also emerging. As I said, there's different infrastructure requirements. So look at your third stream income. How are you overcoming that? So in South Africa, we say the system need to train for employment. We meet the demands of industry. We have will for our lecturers and students, and we integrate technology in teaching and learning so that we can generate income through occupational programs. Megatrends, there's 6. Beckman said there's 6. In unfavorable demographics, resource scarcity, climate change, geopolitical balance, the depth and the physical challenges. People, you know about our budget. It was only implemented now. They wanted to increase the VAT. The population in South Africa is aging, so less people are contributing to the revenue. So with that, there's unemployment. So how do we going to look into that? Urbanization, cross-border immigration, people, water and electricity, food security, and climate change. We need to address it through innovation, and that we can do through entrepreneurial hubs in agriculture, hospitality, and mining. And mining, we can look in engineering fields. But partnerships, we need to establish people to make sure we stay relevant with the courses we offered. I want to talk about the dual approach, people. Dual approach. Dual means 2 parts. So the one part is we say they are in training, the other part they are at workplaces. So now we're saying this dual model comes from Germany. We cannot adopt that model as it is because South African's education framework looks different. So we need to adapt it so that we can use it in our own education system. So we need to look at our social and economic objectives when we do it. And you can see it's adopted by third world countries. And it's to address the growing unemployment rate. The dual system as it is, and we're adapting it now, will support the GNU goals, people, about combat of poverty, create jobs,
Hello.
and promote inclusive growth.
Hello.
Can you just mute yourself? So the dual principles are, people, relevance of real world experiences. I'm going to give an example quickly here so that you understand and do not lose me. If we're training chefs, we need to train them so that they can also be maybe for 3 months at the college, and then for the rest of the year they're at the workplace where they apply that knowledge. It will increase their employability, and it gives them that knowledge and skills that they learned in theory. They will be able to use technical hands-on skills now at the workplace. And I'm going to show you now, people, a, a, um, a model for the occupational program ECD that we want to implement at Thabazimbi. So the specific thing is we want to implement the ECD certificate because we want to enhance employability. The program is approved by QCTA. We have already trained 2 facilitators. There's assessors and moderators that's registered, and we've signed 5 SLAs to place our students, and there's assessments, and currently our students are placed at the work. So now the action we are taking, we are implementing that program. Now the reality is we receive funding for it. We are paying students allowances from NASTAS, and we have placement for our students. What do we want to establish now is a simulation center that becomes a daycare facility to generate a third stream income. So the timelines is we've got approval, we've trained. 2026 we are offering. 2027 we want to convert the space into a daycare center with a jungle gym, and then that center must be fully operated. Now for that we also have a business plan. So it means for every occupational thing that we're going to implement, we have to have a business plan. So the partners we're going to have is your EDP CETA, daycare industries, DET, QCT. Activities, like I said, we've reskilled our staff already. Converting of a classroom. Resources, physical, the space, human, the facilitators, funding. We need to get the space converted. Intellectual, how are we looking at our marketing, and how do we through marketing get more partnerships to build on this. The value that we will add, people, primary is we're going to train people with a qualification that can mean something at Thabazimbi. Secondary, the place will be there so that at the campus, so we can take care of toddlers, and from an early age we train them how to become responsible for their own future. Relationships, we maintain it, we get more. The channels, people, we get grants through the EDP CETA or CEOC. Horisang customers, it will be your students, your QCTA for accreditation. The structure, we're looking at about 8 million rand that we want to spend, and then we generate from tuition and third stream income because it becomes a daycare center. So people in context, who is Waterberg TVET College? It's in Limpopo. It's 2 district municipalities. We have got 4 training centers, 2 practical sites. And as I indicated previously, the marginalized people is the women, especially the ones in the rural area, because of the social environment they are living in, but also low levels of education. And this comes from the Limpopo Development Plan. The mining industry is contributing 50% of our income in Limpopo. So our drivers is mining, agriculture, tourism, and hospitality, and that is the main focus of our PQM. You can see NCV, we are already addressing some of this. We are phasing out Report 191. The programs we are offering currently and going forward is in line with that. The chef, the diesel welder, early childhood, articulation for our primary agriculture students, and we have trade centers, people. We have already farming and the diesel, and we are also exam center for our ECD qualification. I'm going to quickly talk about the tactical indicators, and as I said to you, the tactical indicators is the priorities of government. They want to drive inclusive growth and job creation. And how do we contribute, people? expanding access, and I've already talked about the blended learning, more resources that's aligned with industry, third stream income, and then the targets that we say the college has already smartboards, we have Moodle, so start using it. We can train an artisan in vendor virtually while he's working at a diesel placement. We need to sign the protocol so that those things is in place, and we need to increase our third stream income when we did. And then I said also we need to allow our PQM. So the next one, people, is to make poverty, to tackle poverty. And that we can do with skills, short skills. I know business studies wants to introduce short skills at their campus. So we want by 2029 have a lot of small skills, short skills like bricklaying, paving, gardening, welding, poultry processing, expanding access, people, to reach distances through digital training. And Canadian partnership is helping us now. We have already a champion identified. We have now Eon through Mercita, Facet, Wave Lab that they gave us, the Minerals Council who came in to say we need this from industry, and then go to competence-based occupational programs where they take the knowledge and apply it in a workplace. And QCTO provided that to us. We need to build a capable, ethical, and development state. People, we can only do that if we make sure our staff is also equipped to offer those programs. And we need to develop a policy for 2026 where we can see how do we build capacity for our staff, because a lot of alignment needs to be done there. And then we need to develop a college policy on gender-based violence. Already we have a men's forum. We need to take it further, people, but then the next thing that we also need to look at the well-being of all our staff and issues regarding wellness for the staff. There is things for students, but what are we doing for our staff? Our staff is struggling. Now, I have done our strategic performance. We did the tactical. Now we're going into our operations, people. Our operations and our KPI is expanded access. Now you will see it is a repeating thing that's coming through tactical, it's coming through our strategic. So the alignment needs to be done there through PQM, as I said, and the key KPIs, the number of students that we have, because we have expanded access. So the target for 2023 will be 3,733. The students that is in self-funding is the repeaters. We are reducing them to 209. That is why we need to get them out of the system. And then 90 students in at least skills program, non-ministerial funding. Then the KPI for number 2 is success. What is success? It means how many students are enrolled in artisan programs. We plan to have in 2030 780, because we are facing in occupational programs. Then we want in 2030 312 NCV students to exit, because our numbers in NCV is also going to be reduced. And our throughput rate, we want it at least 34% for our remaining. Now, for every outcome, people, we need to have a plan and activities. So activities for access expansion is we need an enrollment plan. Financially, we need funding from either the DET or SETA. We need staff in TVET MIS, a deputy principal, academic and registrar, campus managers and committees. And what do we want to gain at the end, people? We want to see with whom do we have these partnerships, departments, the industries where we signed, SLAs, DET, Coltech. Phasing out, people, we need funding so that we can phase it out. We need then because we phase these programs out and phase in occupationals, reskill our staff, what we can do through TUT, universities, other service providers. And then, as you see, ICT infrastructure, we need funding to build on that capacity. We have trained lecturers, so we need to implement it. And that is our partnership through SAIBIN, the student administrative system, and then, as I previously said, Ion, Mercita, and Facet. The one for success, people. We need to come into the activities responsive qualifications with workshops that meets the demand so that we have quality training. So we need money to equip those. We need to upskill our staff to lecture there. And then we have to get partnerships through NSF and Northern Platinum Mine to make sure we have that workshops and we can do the training. Our performance area level number 3 will be people the quality, improve the quality. Here you will see the outputs is about councils that we constituted, examination compliance. And then you will see, if we constitute a council, then it is 100% constituted. If we look at our policy, we want 100% compliance. If we students that write exams, we want 98% of them at least to meet the requirements. The lecturers to be qualified, we need 124 in 2013 to be qualified. The lecturer support in professional qualifications. By 2013, we only will be able, will we only have one or two lecturers, but we still need to develop, because then everyone will be developed. And then at the engineering side is to get them in certain fields as artisans. How do we do it, people? Again, the activities comply with OHS, the financials, budget and allocate money so that we make sure we are complying now. The OHS officer, the campus manager, the ISD exams, the partnerships we've did, the same with lecturers that we place in industry, everything has an activity, it's funded. Then the lecturers is the human resource capital, all the students, and where are we getting our funding from? Then people, our last key performance area is improve responsiveness. If you remember, I said to you in the beginning in our strategic, the PUKM needs to change. We need to look at occupationals, our niche areas. What do we need to do? Improve responsiveness for the world of work. The output will be more students enrolled in priority skills. The number of students is our key performance indicator. So in 2030, we want 950 students in OHID priority skills. So it means it's occupations, industry want this occupations. So let us be responsive to that. Entrepreneurship, people, we need to look into, if we train students in welding, how can we help that student to become an entrepreneur, to put food on the table? That is what we need to do. The same with lecturers. We need to capacitate lecturers to at least 6 in 2030, offering programs through distant learning. And then protocols that needs to be closed, we said we want 50 by 2030, and students, we want 1,278 students. And that includes NCV and occupational programs. How will we do it, people? The activities with partnerships that we will secure, funding that we will secure for NCV and level 4 and occupational students. We have a work placement officer, partnerships with government and other industry related. We need to appoint people a partnership and linkages, because it becomes crucial now in occupational programs. Implementation of occupational programs, I have already discussed it, to say we need upskilling and we need partnerships to come in and do this, and then the entrepreneurship hubs. Then people, how do we start to be sustainable? How do we know this plan that I created here, it will be sustainable? Because we can plan and plan, but if we're not making sure that we will be in 5 years still able to do this, So what are we doing? People, we need to look at our areas of risk and what is the impact of those risks. So now, address that risk and put controls and improvement plans in place so that at the end, we are reporting quarterly to say we are making progress in implementing a policy or monitoring or whatever we've put in place in our controls. Then I've talked about it. Third stream income, people, becomes important. And don't think just about the college. We also think now about the students. They must start getting income for themselves. So look at our sustainability for the college in the hotel school. We are currently doing catering for meetings and events. Bed and breakfast, we need to establish that. We have trade centers, increase it. We are now busy looking at plans to increase it for the hotel school for chef. And then the farms produce. And I've put up welding here because we already used our welding students to do burglar proofs at the business study center. So this is the type of things that we really need to look into. Now, when you plan, people, you need buy-in. This plan of mine can be on the books. People can look at it, so yeah, it sounds nice. But if I do not get the buy-in from the stakeholders, then people, I have planned to fail. So in finances, who must buy in my plan? It's the CFO and the finance managers and officials at campuses, the campus management with their budget and their capex. All the units in the college must develop their budgets, and funders that we will get through proposals that we are writing. And that's why we're saying, people, we need linkages and partnerships, because when you apply for occupational programs, this is things that you need to put in your head. Human resources, people, it's campus management, support at central office. And I'm saying it again, people, our staff is sick, well-being. Lecturers, the cleaners and the groundsmen. Why is it important? Because they want to know, where is the college going? Why am I making sure when we enter the gate it's clean? Because we want funders. If there's funding, we can have more programs. That is the buy-in. Students, let them know where we want to go. If they buy in, maybe they will not burn our workshop that we have. Teaching and learning is a deputy principal, academic, curriculum manager, examinations manager, TVET miss, campus managers, business unit, lecturers, students, and then also through our accountability sessions. The facilities and partnerships, people, I spoke about our workshops. We are getting to a state where we will not buy consumables in bulk like we're doing, because you will get a program that is developed where a student log on his computer, and the plan for the house is in there, and there's a chart with all the equipment that you're going to need to wire that house. And you're going to click on that chart to say, I need a screwdriver, I need so many wire, I need this, and in your chart. And then you will start wiring your DB box on your computer. And then only will you go and do it. That is the future. And those things are already there. We need to just make our staff aware and start realigning them into that. And then people, we need to look at our SRC. They are part of governance. We have quarterly meetings with them. This is things that we need to discuss, not just look at, why are you not in class? We need to say, this is the plan. What is your input? What do you think? We really need buy-in from them as well. We already have a president and a secretary at the academic board where they know all these things, and when they are supposed to be part of a council strategic planning. This is the references that I used. during my completion of my presentation, people. And I want to thank you that you were part of this. I appreciate the time that you've shared with me. And I'm going to start now by giving you chance to ask me questions so that I can answer. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ma'am Foster?
Yes, ma'am, you can speak. You can just continue. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On the last part of consumables, can you just repeat on that, on how now we are going to do consumables for these new programs and in sync with the you can just again explain on that. And the other one is on entrepreneurship. My input on this one is a comment to say I am very happy to hear that we will be for all these programs and the skills program at the end. What is that we want to achieve? Is to see them being employed and creating employment so as to alleviate youth unemployment that is rampant everywhere in the country. I am happy about that. And we have always said, let all programs, doesn't matter whether it's welding, electrician, and all that, they need to have entrepreneurship. Last time we spoke about entrepreneurship and innovation to see the skills and qualifications that you have. How can you turn that into you making money and creating jobs? I'm happy about that one, ma'am. I think the last one, perhaps for me, will be on the early child development. I have seen a lot of programs on ECD from China curriculum regarding ECD. I wish all colleagues can just go on YouTube and check their programs. They are a real deal, if I have to put it that way, where they deal with our daily lives, whether it's entrepreneurship, creativity, and all that. They are just spot on, and they are preparing these babies for the future. That I can tell you. And I think this is why China is the way it is. So I don't know how far our curriculum in terms of daily teaching and perhaps also all the three components of the curriculum, of the qualification, how far it reaches. But let us look, and perhaps we can get, Mem Frida, we can get a partnership with colleges that have a similar program like ours, and those early child facilities, initial development facilities, very, very good. I think we will make a difference if we were to go that route and not just the old one kind of method that we have been using. Those legacy ones, perhaps they are not just uh, assisting the country to deal with the problem. I think I will stop here, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. Yes, I'm glad you made this because when I was doing the dual system, my focus was specifically, if you remember during the maturity model, we said we need to change the situation in Tabazimbi. And there it starts there, like you've indicated. People, we have the Roger Federer Foundation in Limpopo. That is really contributing to ECD facilitators. So you can imagine if we look at that the model you're talking about, China and the Swedish people. the precision in it, then people, I'm telling you, we will change the minds of young people when we start there. And and for me, people, it starts with a young child, because if a child can read and read with comprehension, the student is that child is going to be successful. So if we can install this, exactly what you're saying, those things that China is bringing in, it's like they are born entrepreneurs. It's like they are born engineers. All of them are focused on that. So that is very, very, very true what you're saying. Yes, the entrepreneurship for comment. Thank you for that. People, we need to look into this, because we really, I said, education failed the students. We are sitting with 728,000 NCV students. I'm talking only NCV. I didn't talk about university students. That is currently without jobs, because they were trained, but they could never get employment. That's the reality we are sitting. So we need to look, when we design with the industry, the curriculum now for our occupational programs, entrepreneurship must take part in it. And that's why we need to bring our Alan Gray partner on board to say, how do we bring this in? Because if I'm a chef, how can I become an entrepreneur? Help me with my business plan. Help me to get funding. I will apply, but look at my business proposal. Then I want to come to that. Previously, when they were training engineers, they used this virtual reality classes, where you need a space, and then you can walk in a virtual room, and here is a booth where you're going to service your car. The next booth will be for a welder. The next one will be an electrician. And depending on your context, are you a welder or are you a diesel mechanic, you will see the machine in front of you, the engine. And say, for instance, today you're going to work on a differential. You're going to see the differential of that bakkie. And then you're going virtually to dismantle that differential and put it together, and it gives you an exercise. They went further now. People, they are developing software that you can load, like Caltech, or I'm saying now Caltech, but you hear what I'm saying. You put it on your server. So your student in plumbing, I'm taking now plumbing example. You want him to go and fix the geyser, or you want him to wire the geyser. So now he cannot wire it. So he gets his electrician friend in. So the electrician friend is with him. And now, what is his job? So he must assemble the geyser. So he must now first mount it with all the pipes. So in that software program, it shows you, okay, here's your chart. Here's all the consumables. What are you going to need? So you're going to say, I'm going to need the geyser. It's in my chart. You tick it, it loads your chart. I need screwdriver. I need whatever you need to. I'm not a plumber, so I'm just saying everything you're going to need. Then your guy from electricity is going to say, okay, I need green wire. I need a red one. I need this. I have to earth this. So I need a screwdriver. I need this and I need this. And I put it all there, because now he must wire the geyser to the DB board. And then when they have the equipment, now they sit in front. They don't have goggles on, people. They sit in front of your laptop screen where you are listening to me now. And then I take that equipment that I have and I click there, and it's connected. And you can even test it and see if it's working. And that is the technology that is now currently. You can ask, it's a German company that's in South Africa. They showed it to us now. You can go as a college there and say, I'm offering plumbing, I'm offering masonry, I'm offering welding, I'm doing chef. can you come and look at the curriculum and design for us? Yes, it's money. But people, imagine you sit in a classroom, you've got 30 computers that was given to you by Facet or any other Marsita, and you have that on, and students are busy learning how to wire it without theory training. You're doing it there. And then you take that student to the workshop and say, okay, here is the consumables. Choose your consumable, put it on your list, come and get it, come and get your tools, and then I'm coming to assess you. You've got 4 students there in front of you. You take your assessment and you say, okay, you start, show me. Because you've practiced there and now he's applying. And that is the training. So when you're going to use consumables, that's what I'm saying, you're not going to waste because the student have trained on that system. And that is the way when I say bring technology into teaching. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question.
Hello.
So, yes, I see Meneer Segapelu, you have a question for me, and I think it's Meneer Apudi is then after you. Meneer Sammy, you can go.
It's okay, Mr. Apudi can come first.
Okay. Meneer Apudi.
Yeah. Good day, colleagues, and thank you, Frida. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. It's really very impressive. It's a good presentation indeed. And the comment that I have, it's that it has been well articulated in terms of, I liked it when, in terms of the alignment, the way in which you aligned the college vision and mission to your strategic planning, in that you made it look very relevant to the direction that the college is taking in terms of our program qualification mix, even in terms of how to achieve that vision that we have, wherein you even mentioned the issue of the reskilling and upskilling of staff, which is very, very good, very well articulated. Another key area that I need to point out in your presentation, which really looked very relevant, it's about the key performance areas that you talked about. I think you talked close to 4 or 5 key performance areas. What was good in those areas are that the areas are very relevant, and what you put in there, it's very actionable, more so that you touch on very critical areas like the early childhood development programs that it's there in Tabazimbi. The emphasis also on the entrepreneurship, it's very good in the sense that due to the high rate of unemployment, it will even encourage our students to, when they go out there, they are well equipped and they cannot even just be looking for employment. They can create a sum also for themselves and others. You also highlighted a very important item in terms of the third income stream, that all this that you have talked about, they really need funding. And in your plan, you articulated very well in terms of how the college can raise funds to augment the ones that the department and other stakeholders are giving to the college. And yeah, that's my comment to say, really, you touch on very important key factors. You included them very well, and it has been a very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I come in, Ma'am Frida?
Yeah, it's your turn. Then I see my time is nearly coming to an end. I'm allowing you now.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Manfrida, for your presentation. It's actually even as some of us who are not more into academic, it paint a picture of our country and also where we are heading to from the college side, which is very much appreciated. I just have some few questions. I think I've got 4. One of them is we've got good plans. We've got very good policies in our offices. And one of our biggest challenge is the implementation part. Yes, during your presentation, yes, you touched across various areas of running the implementation and all those things and bringing all the team on board. But one of the most key area that we need to start resuming into is the implementation phase. That's the first one. The second one, when are we going to strike the balance between men and women? Because most of the time, we keep on empowering women, and somewhere along the line, we are creating imbalance on the other side. When are we going to start striking the balance? From here, since what we are saying is 50-50, now we are accommodating all the genders going forward. The third one, you've already touched on it, and also my colleagues, they've touched on it. Let me jump. This one is around the simulation labs. The last one, which is very key on my side, is with regard to our politicians. The language they are speaking is not in line with the economy, it's not in line with the future of our, I'm sorry to use the word, the future of our youth. Let me just give an example. 3 things, we've seen how they've been abused. And the question is, going forward, how are we bringing our politician to start speaking economic language so that both parties, they build the country? Let me pause there. Thanks.
Meneer, yeah, let me say, I don't know when the imbalance will stop. Or when are we going to say men and women must be equally capacitated? And then I agree with you totally there. Unfortunately, the statistic we get from the Provincial Growth Development Plan, from the Limpopo Development Plan, is that the most of our people that is without work is women. So that is why we need to empower the women in the rural areas. And I don't want to go into what is going on in rural, because I do not really have the knowledge. You are coming from or know people in a very rural area. It is still the woman has got a place and the men is still the ladies is inferior, the men is the ones that's taking over decisions. And I think that is where it comes from. And if you just look at our GBV stats, it's really bad. So I can't tell you on that one. The last one that you've talked about is the politicians, and it. Yes, when we develop something, we need to ask ourselves, who is bringing in the money? Politicians, or is it the people that is working and industries? I just heard the new renewable plan for energy that the minister wants to implement. It's billions that is talking, but it's green energy. I mean, with that, there will be no pollution. And I just talked about climate change because of that. Now, it's going to cost billions. Who's funding it? private industries must come aboard. So industries is telling us what to do. And if education is not listening to industry, the increase in unemployment is going to continue rising. And then you and I are part of a failing of students because we are part of this education system. So unfortunately, what government wants, they give us to say combat poverty. How do we combat it? With education. What do you bring into your education? You bring in entrepreneurship programs. You bring skills that they can use. If they don't have employment, they will be able to put food on the table. Implementation. Yes, I agree with you. Implementation is very important. And that's why I'm saying you need to buy in. You need to buy in from everyone. You get to buy in to say, from the cleaner and the groundsman till the deputy principal that sits there and just saying, yeah, just let, yeah, no, we think this and this. When that deputy principal brings a plan like this, the buy-in should have been done from that level to make sure that everyone is coming to implement it, because now they are owing it and they have decided which programs is offered and how are we, what training we need. So that is why I'm saying we are coming back to campuses to say, let us as campuses sit now and say, this is what we want because the research we done showed us this, and therefore our staff need to be reskilled in this. So that is how you're going to get implementation.
Hello, Frida.
Yes, meneer.
Yes, mine is a request. Is it possible that you can share with us your presentation? Because I find it relevant and somehow during our working days we can utilize the information, refer to the information as and when we're carrying out our jobs.
Yes, I will do it with pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Ma'am, the last one, sorry, ma'am, I think we are done. But the last one from me is just to rope in all the units within the college, including HR. I don't know if they are here. You spoke about wellness and mental health for all staff members. Very important. If you can remember, we spoke about this before. I think now it falls under operational strategic risk management, whatever. But that we need to take it like seriously, ma'am. Yeah, for all of us. Thank you, ma'am. Beautiful presentation indeed.
Thank you so much. People, I'm telling you now, from where I'm sitting, staff is having depression. Staff get sick. Staff is not attending because they cannot cope. And no one come and say, sure, can I help you? There's nothing, there's policies. And I already started addressing this with the principal and with the deputy principal corporate people, because to bring a blue bus or a pink bus, and then only the people with medical aid can go to the pink or the blue bus, is not addressing well-being. Or tell people there's a TB online and you need to log in. That's not well-being, people. There is lecturing staff that's struggling and we need to help him. So I agree with you on that. There's managers, there's that's struggling, there's lecturers, groundsmen, everyone is struggling, people. And it's going to be, becoming more because of, as I indicated to you, the rapid changes that's happening, the costs of living, everything. So we need to really have a program just to get our mind from work. We can have a fun run like we previously have. We can quickly say, on Friday, we're going to quickly bring in someone to come and talk to us about nutrition. Something like this, that's tangible. People, if we start doing things like this, it doesn't have to be the whole day, just something small. And then having collaborative meetings where you have a virtual meeting with all your staff and say, people, what did you find challenging this week? How can I assist you? This is the type of things that we need to do. And I hope we are getting to that. So thank you so much for attending, people. I see my show has come to the end. I am really in your depths for this. And thank you for giving the feedback. And please, can you fill in that forms for me? Thank you so much, people. Have a nice day. My presentation has come to an end. If there's no any other questions, thank you so much.
Thank you, Frida. We also did comment on the chat box.
Thank you.
You will have to read the chat box. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.